All right, Mr. Chair, you are live.
Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission. I would just like to thank all of those who are joining us this evening. We have a real exciting presenter who will be chatting with us this evening, and I would like to introduce her. That is Jessa Coulter of the Annapolis Immigration Justice Network. And Ms. Coulter will be talking to us this evening about her organization, the challenges it faces, and how the commission may be able to help her. So, Jessa, it's all yours.
Wonderful, thank you so much. And I can do slides or not slides. What do you have a preference?
I don't. It's whatever you feel more comfortable with.
All right, let me get them up. I'll see if I have sharing capacity here. There we go. Okay. Okay, and if I hit share, oops. Slideshow. Okay, perfect. All right, hopefully you all can see that and hear me okay. Thank you so much for having me today. As you shared, my name is Jessa Coulter, and I'm the Executive Director of Annapolis Immigration Justice Network. And this is an organization that was started in 2017 by members of the Annapolis community and other residents and community leaders throughout Anne Arundel County, really seeing during a time when immigrants and immigrants all throughout the community were being attacked. There were immigrant neighbors who were being detained on their way to work, anti-immigrant rhetoric throughout the country, and which trickled down to the community, much of like what we are seeing today. And so our vision is equal justice for all people, regardless of citizenship status. And what we do is we connect vulnerable immigrants who live in Anne Arundel County to legal representation and support services. And this is something that's really critical at a time that we're talking about due process and how important that is. Navigating the immigration system is incredibly complex, and there's great data backing up the importance of having legal representation to navigate this system. So here we have some numbers that I just want to share with you. So studies have shown that immigrants were 5 times more likely to obtain legal relief if they were represented by counsel than if they did not have an attorney. These are data as of last November. There were 3,759 immigration cases pending in Anne Arundel County, and over half of these cases do not have legal representation. And what we do is we try to help our immigrant neighbors overcome the barriers that exist in accessing legal representation. And we are working with some of the most vulnerable residents in our county. We work a lot with asylum seekers, with unaccompanied minors, with children and youth who have been abused, neglected, or abandoned. And we've also had some cases of victims of human trafficking and other crimes. So we're really working with an incredibly vulnerable population. And we're working with people who have legal grounds to apply for legal relief to remain in this country. And it's just the barriers to representation that really get in the way of that relief. And so what we do, our first step is we partner with private attorneys, and these attorneys are in our network, and they offer our clients, who we refer to them, a low bono rate. So it's not free, but they reduce the rate. So the first step is to have a consultation, which we cover the cost of, in which the attorney is evaluating somebody to see if they're eligible for legal relief. If they are eligible and the attorney offers representation at that reduced low bono rate, AIJN operates a legal fund, and we provide financial assistance towards the cost of those fees. Legal representation, depending on the complexity of the case, can easily cost over $10,000. And these are really complex cases that can take many years. And so that last piece here, that case management, is something that's really critical to help navigate that system and make sure that things are going as they should, making sure people know when their different court hearings are, different appointments. And another piece of that, while AIJN focuses exclusively on connecting people to legal representation, we know that the folks that we're working with are also many times facing food insecurity or they need diapers. And so we partner with other great organizations throughout the county to make sure that those other needs are being met as well. And our other program that we have, again, looking at these barriers to representation, the cost is the biggest one that we have seen. But after that, there's also an issue of transportation. Everybody in Anne Arundel County is districted to the immigration court in Baltimore City. And really quickly we found, if you have a court hearing at 8 o'clock in the morning and you live in Annapolis and you don't have your own car or you're new to this country, and it can be really difficult to get to that hearing on time. And so we have a volunteer accompaniment program where we have volunteers who go in teams of 2 and they provide transportation and support in navigating, even knowing where to park and knowing which courtroom you're supposed to be in. And so volunteers do that for court hearings and also for other legal appointments, ICE check-ins, and other biometric appointments that are federal requirements of the process of applying. And so our just kind of general ask of what we're always looking for, because of the work that we do, and we operate this legal fund, we're really always looking for folks who can donate or grants or different ways to get involved that way, because we're able to pass that on and grow our legal fund to be able to provide financial assistance for more cases. We're also, as I've shared kind of since November, going around our community, we're always looking for people who can help us amplify the work we're doing and doing presentations and getting coffees and just letting people in our community know about this organization, about the great work that started in 2017 and what we're doing now. And then, of course, if folks are interested in volunteering and doing accompaniment, that's another great way to get involved. And so I'm going to stop my slides now. And I don't know if there are any specific questions or if there are other things specific to this commission that I could talk about.
Okay, Commissioner Kaczmar, you are called on. I see your hand up.
Jessa, you had referenced unaccompanied minors.
Mm-hmm.
How typically do they come to you?
Yeah, that's a really great question. And things, of course, are changing. My disclaimer always is I'm not an immigration attorney. I don't have any legal advice, but also sometimes I don't have all the information as things are changing. But up until this point, when an unaccompanied minor comes into the US, they are first processed and then they actually go to a shelter that's operated, there are shelters all across the country operated by ORR, the Office of Refugee and Resettlement. And youth stay there until the shelter, the social workers can find a family member or guardian or somebody safe who they can place the child with. And so there are programs, and that's something that we've kind of seen in this administration. I'm not sure if you all saw one kind of big thing that has happened recently is federal funding for legal representation for unaccompanied minors. That funding has, I think, expired and is not being renewed, which the reports are showing there will be 26,000 children in the country who will have lost legal.
Did we lose her?
Do legal representation for those minors. When we're seeing folks who are unaccompanied, usually they're already living with a family member and they're coming to us that way. We don't have these established relationships with the shelters like some of the big organizations do.
So,
and that's oh yeah, go ahead.
So a what if question. What if I knew of an unaccompanied minor?
Oh.
What would I advise him or her to do?
Yeah, that is a great question, and kind of the general answer almost always for somebody is to get them connected to an immigration attorney. It's about having that first consultation and having an attorney evaluate if they're eligible for legal relief and what that pathway looks like. If they're in Anne Arundel County, please have them call us. We can make sure that they can get that consultation for free and evaluate that way. There are other organizations throughout the area that they can also call. And then if anyone ever wants to look at private attorneys, AILA is the American list of attorneys also that people can get a consultation with. But that really is the first critical piece to understand someone's eligibility. And we're also in a time where things are changing quickly, and there's some temporary protected status and things that maybe somebody did have a status and now they don't, or then they were not going to, and then something has now happened in the courts, and so now things are frozen. So there is a lot of confusion. So it is really critical to have that first piece and really understand what somebody's pathway could be.
And if my last question, I swear
ask as many as you like.
If the unaccompanied minor would call you, does the person who answered the phone, are they Spanish speaking?
Yes, yeah. So our staff, we have a very multilingual staff, and our case manager is bilingual in English and Spanish. And if you call the general AIJ, a number comes to me, and I also speak Spanish. So we really want to make sure. And if somebody, another thing, a huge population of immigrants in our county are from Spanish-speaking countries, but that's definitely not everyone. And so we have a great volunteer team and access to folks who speak other languages too. So language should not be a barrier, and we're not, it is our work, our program is for all immigrants, regardless of country of origin. So yes, please have them contact us and reach out, because it really is now more than ever really important to know where somebody stands, actions that they can take now. One of the things we've been doing with the county, with the Office of Multicultural Affairs, they've been coordinating Know Your Rights and Family Preparedness workshops across the county, and so that people know what rights they have, what rights we all have just as people in this country, regardless of your status. And then also family preparedness. If something were to happen, who is taking care of your children? Are you doing standby guardianship? Are there emergency contacts at school? Kind of thinking through those pieces so that that's all accounted for. And another great resource, and I'm sure that people have seen them everywhere. We have there's a national immigration organization that has created these red cards. So you may have seen these, and they're available in 19 different languages. And on one side, it just gives information that if somebody was encountering an ICE officer, what rights they're exercising. And then in whichever language somebody chooses, it gives information that you don't need to sign something, that you have the right to remain silent. So that's another, when you think about Know Your Rights, it's important. I think it's really valuable for everybody to know what rights we have in this country.
I forgot about that little red card. I think I took a bunch of your red cards when I saw you last.
Yes, and they really are great, and you can print them for free. It's the National Immigration Law Center, I think, is the one who puts them out, and you can download them in the different languages they have and print them and keep them with you.
Thank you.
Jessa, you mentioned that among the three things that organizations can do is to provide volunteers.
Yes.
Okay. What types of work do volunteers do with the Annapolis Immigration Justice Network?
With us specifically, we are always looking for volunteers to do the accompaniment program. And so that's driving or being a second. We always send volunteers in teams of 2 to provide transportation and support for people during their different court hearings or legal appointments. And it is always great for Spanish speakers, but it's not a requirement that somebody speaks Spanish. And as I mentioned before, it's a really critical program to make sure that people have transportation. And it can also just be so incredibly impactful during a really scary time, making sure that people have a safe way to arrive to these appointments and the different requirements, federal requirements. And so that is that's kind of our key way of volunteering and getting involved. We're also, as an organization, because we're always fundraising and doing events, if people are interested in that type of work, we're always looking for folks. And then while we don't do direct legal representation, there are other amazing organizations in the area who do. And so sometimes we will have attorneys reach out. Maybe they're not immigration attorneys, but they would like to get involved in some way. And so folks can always reach out to us, and we can get them connected to some of those organizations, such as KIND, Kids in Need of Defense. And then the Pro Bono Resource Center in Baltimore has a specific project where they mentor non-immigration attorneys to do representation or consultations. And so that's another question that we've been getting a lot for people who have that legal expertise.
You had mentioned fundraising. Do you have any upcoming events planned?
We have a event that is going, it's still just in the works, but in the beginning of June, and we'll be sharing information about that. But that'll definitely be a big thing that we're working on. And it's really, I think back, I wasn't involved with the organization in 2017 when it came to be, but at that time, almost all of the whole organization was run based on fundraising events, and they did lots of different things. And of course, with COVID, everything kind of slowed down and moved away from that. So we're glad to be at a place where we can do some more of that in-person fundraising. But we really are, I mean, we're an organization that is supported by great foundations, and the county has been supportive and through different grants, but we're really of the community and by the community. It's about individuals. We have a lot of people who care really deeply about this work and really make it possible.
You mentioned
So
also
your website will have the events listed.
Yes, yeah,
and
the
going-
website is a great
okay.
place to get information.
Okay, thank you. Sorry,
you
Mike,
mentioned-
I think
Oh, no,
I,
that's all right. You mentioned that you look to partner with other organizations. What does that entail? What does that involve?
Yeah, so it depends kind of on in different ways we partner. So one great program that we've been able to do is with the Partnership for Children, Youth, and Families through the county. And they have family navigators to help with some of those social services that our families or youth clients might be in need of. And so their family navigators help with those other pieces while we specialize in the legal services. We just recently got connected with another organization that they do non-immigration legal services. And so we've been able to partner with them because there are some cases that have kind of two components to it. One is in immigration court and one is in the circuit court. And so we've been able to partner with them too. So it really depends kind of on the different pieces and what the organization is doing. I got connected with the Key Club in Annapolis High School and was able to do a presentation with them, and they're going to do a fundraiser. So it really depends on what the organization is and kind of what their interests are to see how we can collaborate. Because I really do think the work that we do would not be possible without collaboration. And I think just kind of in general, when you think about the community and strengthening our community, it is about working together and seeing how we can support each other.
What are your biggest challenges as an organization?
Oh, I mean, I think right now the biggest challenge of the organization is also the biggest challenge the whole country is facing when we think about immigration. I mean, we have just unprecedented numbers of phone calls from the beginning of January. I mean, those first couple of weeks as executive orders were coming out, as things were changing so quickly, we had community members calling and saying they weren't sending their kids to school anymore because they were terrified. There's an executive order about sensitive places and about ICE going into schools, and there's a lot of fear. And so, it's nothing about it is unique to us. There's a lot of uncertainty and there's a lot of unknown. We, can't sit here and say, we know exactly how this is going to play out. But because I'm not an immigration attorney, after the election, the first thing I did was call our legal advisory board, which is made up of some really incredible attorneys and immigration law professors. And I said, it's like, what do you think? Does our model hold up? Is this, and they said legal representation is going to be the most critical piece. Attorneys, it will be more important than anything when you talk about providing services for immigrants. And so we're definitely seeing that, that there is a huge need for this. And the acting director of ICE had shared recently that they had received guidance that if somebody has a pending case, if they have something pending in the courts, such as an asylum application, that the guidance is that should be adjudicated and decided by the courts before any action has happened. And so that's, a big piece. And that's the way that it should work, is that if you have a claim to these forms of legal relief, and if you're eligible for relief, that you have the right to have that heard in the immigration court system.
Okay, Commissioner Mundy, you got a question or a comment?
Yes, I have a couple questions. Hi, Jessa. Good to meet you.
Hi, nice to meet you too.
I actually was at the very first meeting of the Annapolis
Oh my
Immigration
gosh.
Network way back when everybody met at the United Church of Christ. So I'm pretty aware of the organization. I have a lot of church members that are really involved with you all. I go to Unitarian Universalist Church. So yeah, so I'm very familiar. As you are talking to the commission, the City of Annapolis Commission, I guess I'm kind of curious, what your relationship is with the city. If you are working with them at all. I mean, you probably know that, way long ago when the AIJM was first formed, that, we got the city to agree to not enforce the 287G. And so I guess I'm just wondering, do you have a relationship with them, and what do you need from the city of Annapolis in this time?
Yeah, I appreciate that. I'm so happy to know that you were at the first meeting. There's, I'm sure it feels difficult to feel like maybe it's back to
Right. Yeah,
to
absolutely.
those times. And the UUCA has just been so supportive, and this organization really was born of so many churches and of the faith community who said, these
Absolutely.
are not our values. This is not what we believe in. So we have, as it stands now, we're not so involved. We don't have many connections with the city of Annapolis, and I think that would be something really great to strengthen and look at those relationships. I don't know about what funding options look like, if there are grants, if there is money for representation or for these legal funds, because that need really is going to be significant. I know at the county level, the Office of Multicultural Affairs and Allison Flores and her team have been really on top of it, trying to bring together different agencies and organizations all throughout the county who work with immigrants from the libraries and the school systems, and also working to create response teams so that as things happen, that there are volunteers and there are plans in place to make sure that families are supported. If somebody is detained or deported, and their family is here, how can that family make sure that their needs are being met too? And so I don't know what the city of Annapolis is, how involved they are with that, and if that's something to get plugged into, or look at something more specifically in Annapolis. But I do feel grateful to be in an area where there are a lot of folks who are really supportive and thinking about this now, and not only responsibly, but really since November, really planning and figuring out how to provide that support. And I do
Yeah.
think the city of Annapolis is hiring, or was going to hire a new, because there was a Hispanic
liaison,
right? And that
yes,
position went away, but I
right.
heard, is that correct, that it is coming back?
I don't know the answer to that. I do
Okay.
know that there was one, but I think she went to the county, right? That's what ended up happening, is that she ended up moving to the county.
I
Well, that was
think,
at least one of them did. I remember that.
yeah, I think folks moved on,
Yeah.
but I mean, that would be, if that, I think that was a really critical role to have at the city, and I guess kind of look, I have heard murmurings that maybe that position is coming back or something similar, but I think that is a huge piece, because it's just such an important connection, and making sure that there is an advocate or somebody really
Yeah.
tapped into these issues specific
Yeah.
to this community in Annapolis. So I think that's, I don't know enough about the commission's role in that, but I think
Right.
that would
Well, I
be,
mean, that's something that we can find out about and we can also advocate for. And
yeah.
I do think it's important. And I think the challenge right now is it's election year.
Mhm.
So that's where our city council members are focusing, right, on their own elections.
Right.
And it just can, and then of course the administration will change. So the two people that are running for mayor, one is already on the council, the other one's Jared Littman, who I know also has been very supportive of the AIJN in the
Mhm.
past, because yeah, so lots of connections there. But so yeah, so that definitely could be something that we could advocate the city for. And I do know that there is also a community grant program that the city
Mhm.
has. I'm not sure exactly what the cycles are for it, but I'm pretty sure if you haven't applied, in the past few months, then you might have missed the last cycle, but there will
Okay.
be another cycle. So definitely keep an eye, see if you can get connected in there, because they do
Yeah.
give out grants.
Yeah, that would be great. And also just figuring out for the best way um, for us to be tapped in, and make sure that we're getting all that information from the city and knowing what's going on. That would be great.
And do you work with CASA or OLA?
Yeah, so we don't have any formal programs with them, but with CASA, kind of because CASA took the lead on advocacy.
Yeah,
And that there it's, we're so
my next
specialized
question
in
for
just
you.
this,
So, yeah,
in just in the representation piece.
right.
And so we've been trying to stay plugged in and seeing what's happening with um, Maryland legislation through CASA and their work. And then Ola and Centro de Ayuda, yeah, these are all organizations that we're always, depending on the different needs, referring, or getting referrals, because I think that's what's really great. Something that I really love about AIJN is how focused, how, we really just do this one thing. And so it creates great opportunities to partner with other organizations for other needs. So like Centro de Ayuda does citizenship tutoring for people who are going to take a citizenship test at the end of their process. So we're working with people on the other side at the very beginning. But the hope is then they go through, and then when you need to go
Right.
and study and do that, that resource also exists.
And as far as your funding goes, I mean, I know that you all have gotten money from the county
Mm-hmm.
pretty regularly. Are you worried about what that looks like, in the next year? Do you think that do you have a good diversity of your funding, or?
Yeah, so one thing, I mean, the good and the bad of doing anything, receiving funding with anything that has an election, is that we know that no, no matter what, in 2026 there's going to be a new county executive, and somebody new very likely could have different priorities.
Mhm.
Um, and so we have really been working to diversify funding, and something, a huge way to focus on that is through our individual giving, because we know that, you know, people are not, usually changing what the types of things they're giving to, dependent on an election year. So that's something that we're still working to grow and expand, because something that's really cool about this model is that it's really scalable, because we're
Right.
not because we're not taking the cases in-house and doing the direct representation, one of the things we actually did right after the election was expand our network of attorneys. So to find somebody who specializes in detention work, a firm that does that type of immigration work, so that we could be prepared for the increased need that we expected. And so that's, I always say, Mackenzie Scott gives a $2 million donation, we'd be able to scale because there's nothing really limiting us
Right.
in that way. Because if one attorney is not able to take, if their caseload is really high, we have this whole network of attorneys that we're working with.
Gotcha. And last thing I wanted to just let you know about. So I also I do a lot of work with Showing Up for Racial Justice, Surge PA.
Yeah.
And on May, let me get my dates. I've been really bad this week with getting dates confused. May 3rd, we are doing a training on mutual aid for our members and for anybody else that wants to come. And just kind of really talking about what is mutual aid, what could it look like in our county, and hoping to like help people vision that. I think, my personal goal, although I'm not sure I should say it publicly, but my personal goal is that we will start to take the initiative to form a mutual aid network. I'm hoping that's what will happen. It all depends on who shows up. I know I can't do it myself, so
Sure.
I know that I need other people to do it, but I just want to let you know that. Would love for you to attend. It's going to be at the Broadneck Library at 10 till 12. But also just something to keep in the loop about, because if indeed that is something that we decide to do, then obviously, an organization like yours could be looped into that.
Yeah, I would love that. And I'm so happy to see how much organizing is happening right now. And it's something that one group said, we want to support immigrants. I'm like, oh my gosh, in 2017, there were so many lessons learned that, that really is what, that group, I'm sure on day one at that first meeting, it wasn't like, hey, we're going to start a nonprofit and help people access legal representation. It was, how do we support immigrants? And it was a lot of lessons learned. It was about really quickly realizing how critical legal representation is, and just how needed it is, and how the organizations that exist, nobody can meet the demand. And so kind of creating that. And so I'm even in general, just spending, I keep thinking back to that time and saying, look at, this is what has been created from that organizing. And I do feel grateful that, even for all of the things that are happening, that we have those lessons learned and we're established, and, we are hitting the ground running and just trying to expand to support as many people as possible. We already have our 501c3 and we already have those things established.
Right, exactly.
But thank you. Okay, I took note. 10 to 12 p.m. Broadneck Library, May 3rd.
Yeah, and I'll find your email. I can follow up and just do that and a couple other
perfect.
that might
And
be.
I didn't hear, is it Surge of Annapolis or Surge of Anne Arundel?
It's Surge, Showing Up for Racial Justice, Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. And so I think one of our very first actions was going to the City of Annapolis Council to tell them that they needed to not be cooperating with the 287G.
Yeah.
So that in that time, like you said, all of us started to, start paying attention more. So
yeah, and we are hearing reports, community members who are being asked about their citizenship status or their legal status in positions that are not right. It is not appropriate. These are folks who are not supposed to be asking that, but it is happening. And it has seemed, at least in what we have seen thus far, is once ICE is called, whether or not the person who asked someone about their status was supposed to do that, it's kind of too late. It's already, they are now turned over to ICE if there's somebody who
and so you're hearing that about police officers in Annapolis? Are you hearing that officers in Annapolis?
We heard it about a MDOT, like a Maryland Department of Transportation person, and also a Maryland, I think it's the Maryland Capitol Police in Annapolis. So it's not the City of Annapolis police officers, but it is still
Interesting.
it was still in Annapolis. And I know at one training that happened, they had they talked about the difference of recognizing a City of Annapolis or an Anne Arundel County police officer versus an ICE officer, and looking at those different pieces. But I think it's I'm not sure if it's enough of a trend, but we're definitely hearing some of those
Right.
happening.
Well, definitely, I think we as the HR commission would like to hear if you hear any of that from the Annapolis
Annapolis,
police,
definitely. Yeah.
because that's something that we could address with the city of Annapolis with you.
Mhm.
So,
Definitely.
And I don't know if there's anything proactively being done with the City of Annapolis Police, but um, what that looks like of making sure that they are not asking that.
right. Well, do you have a relationship with Joe Hudson from the city of Annapolis Police? He's their
I
Hispanic liaison.
I don't, but I have heard his name. I know that.
Yeah, I would definitely suggest you have coffee with him.
Mhm.
He's a really good guy. Very community oriented, just really caring. And he is, last I heard, I mean, I haven't looked at their org chart lately or anything, but he was a Hispanic liaison for the city of Annapolis Police.
I'm gonna look it up right now. That's a really great suggestion. I appreciate that. Yeah, it says a Hispanic liaison and community outreach.
Still there? Yeah.
Yeah.
I know that a lot of I know their department's been under stress, just not having enough people, they feel like. So some of the liaison people have shifted into more of the police work, but as far as I know, I think he's been in that role for a bit, and yeah, I definitely think he would be worth
Yeah,
meeting.
I think that's a great suggestion because there is also this concern about public safety and wanting to make sure that
Yes.
people are, that's the whole question with the 287G, right? You still want people who are calling the police and not being afraid
Right.
of what could happen.
Yep. Yeah, and I'm not sure what happened with that bill today. Do you know what happened with that bill?
I don't think anything
I've been trying
happened.
to look it up while we were talking, but I'm getting distracted. So yeah,
I think they were waiting for
apparently it was getting stuck with President Ferguson. So
yeah, that's what I heard. So
Yeah, today I believe is Sine Die. I think the legislature
yeah,
adjourned today. There were a couple of bills that the Human Relations Commission specifically lobbied our state senator on, Shani Henson, who serves on, as you may know, she serves on the Senate Judicial Proceedings Committee. And so there are a couple pieces of legislation that were in that committee that we really plugged pretty hard that she support. Never got a response back from her.
what were they again? I don't remember what they were. Was it the 287G bill, the HB 1222?
I don't recall. I don't recall, Linda.
Okay.
One had to do with the relationship between ICE and citizens.
Yeah, that's the one.
that's probably it. Yeah.
That's probably the one. Yeah.
Yeah. And again, that we haven't.
They were
we didn't
voting
get
on that today. So that's what we were just talking about. They were voting on that today, and it was getting held up by the president of the Senate, who didn't want to push it in because he's just acting too afraid. So there was a mass call for calls to his office and social media and everything. So I called his office about 3 times today.
Well, one thing I've learned about the Maryland General Assembly in the years that I worked at the Higher Education Commission and in a number of different other capacities is that there are really two people that make a difference in terms of things happening. One is the Speaker in the House, and the other is the Senate President. They have enormous amounts of influence. And so one of the first things you have to do is to, after a bill successfully gets out of committee, be prepared to lobby real hard with both of those officials, because they can override virtually the entire body if they don't like something. So hopefully that legislation did pass before the legislature adjourned today.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, I didn't hear about the other ones, the sensitive locations, and then there was also a data privacy, I think were the three.
That's
Right.
correct. Yeah,
Right.
yes, there was a data privacy one too. That was the other one that I was thinking of, that the commission sent a letter to Senator Henson about.
Yeah, I still have a hard time really understanding this site, the website, but it says pass both chambers, HB 1222, but I don't know if that's really true, because it also says referral to committee, so I don't know if they've updated it yet. Anyhow, those are all my questions. And like I said, I can follow up if you want to. Oh, yeah, there's no chat here. I forgot, but yeah, I'll find your email.
Okay,
I can easily just shoot you over the information about the mutual aid.
yeah,
website.
I think that's great. And the suggestion to reach out to Joe Hudson, I think, is also really valuable, because a big piece of this, so when I said I initially reached out to our legal advisory board, and these are all folks who have, run immigration rights clinics and have, were around all during the first Trump administration. And one thing they said, nobody has a crystal ball, but one thing to take into consideration is that this is in November, we will likely not see mass deportations on day one, which we did not. And because a big piece of this is also about building the infrastructure and ramping up, which is totally, I mean, it really was. So I can go back to it and say, yes, you were exactly right. Because that is an issue. And, I think there are 3 million, somebody said there are 3 million cases backlogged in the immigration courts in our country. So, there's the issue with the courts about space in detention, in how many people can actually be held at once. And so, there's one piece of it, it's like, yeah, that needs to be, some of it is, it makes sense where we are now, but it doesn't mean that that's not the direction things are going in. And I think in many ways we're just seeing the beginnings, as it relates to immigrants, and it makes this even more critical. Trying to, really does feel like we are in a window right now, and trying to make sure that everybody who is eligible for relief is able to get connected to representation. They're able to submit those applications and show that they have the right to apply and have cases adjudicated. So it's not it's not the most optimistic looking, but I do think it's really important to be thinking about that, because I do know that initial fear that we were hearing about of people not going out, they're not sending their kids to school. A lot of that has calmed down. But it hasn't gone away. And of course, everybody is experiencing things differently. And we're hearing from schools. A teacher had reached out because something else the administration had done was create a federal requirement, a registry for folks who are undocumented to put their name and address, and I think get fingerprints, to create this federal registry of folks who are undocumented. And so a teacher reached out and said his students were, seeing about this registry on TikTok and feeling really afraid about it. And much like many of the things, it came out and it was going to be required to do it by, I think, the 11th of April. But then there's kind of it's already been stopped in the courts. And so, we're going to have to kind of see how things play out in the courts, which is a lot of, in many ways, it does feel like a lot of whiplash of like, okay, here's this like really scary sounding thing. It's like, okay, wait, now we have to wait and see it's been stopped. And then, okay, what happens with it? So it is a lot.
It's a lot, for sure.
Well, I'd like to thank you again, Jessa, for sharing with us this evening the work of your organization. I think what you're doing is absolutely it's vital at this juncture, especially when you factor in that you're dealing with a national administration which is extremely or shall we say, a president on top of that who is just extremely negative in his outlook as it relates to immigrants.
Yeah, I really appreciate you inviting me to come and speak and listen more about AIJN. And I do feel, of all of the things to be concerned about, I feel really grateful for the Annapolis community and for the things throughout Annapolis and Anne Arundel County. I know there are a lot of people who are so supportive and care deeply about our immigrant neighbors. And so I appreciate you all letting me come and chat with you all, and look forward to being in touch and sharing more information with you, and hopefully getting plugged into other things at the city.
Okay, well, thank you very
Take
much.
care of yourself. You've
Thank
got a
you.
big job. It's a hard job. So make sure that you're getting rest and eating well and all those basic things.
That's right.
I appreciate that so much. I really do. And it's, like I said, it's about the coming together and doing it together. I mean, it's, everybody, you'll burn out if you're going. It really is a marathon.
Yep, absolutely.
So,
Good luck.
okay, hope everyone has a good evening.
Thank
Have
you.
a great evening too, Jessa. Thank you again for joining us.
Of course. Bye.
Okay. All right. I just saw Claudia. Were you trying to get recognized? No? Okay.
No, I was waving goodbye to
oh, you're
our
waving
guest.
goodbye. Okay. All right. Well, the next item we have on the agenda, which is a report.
Hey, Mike, can we just follow up on that presentation? Because I kind of heard that we might have an action item about I thought of an action
Yes.
item, and that was can we find out from the city if indeed they are hiring a Hispanic liaison? And if not, can we advocate for that?
Well, we can do both.
Also, if we were to advocate, could we also just, have maybe a reminder to the city of Annapolis and even to the police of our standing agreement that we're not here, our city police are not here to enforce the 287G?
I think we can do all three, Linda. And the thing that I mentioned to you about that there was going to be a additional action item on the agenda, it really didn't relate to the last call. It related to some other matter, which I may not be able to bring before us this evening for a very simple reason of the quorum. That is correct. We haven't voted on the minutes, but I think one of the commissioners said that he would be joining us around 7:15. But with him not being present, we can't vote on anything. But we can. But I can certainly follow up on the three things which you just asked about. In fact, I'm going to put it in the notes here. First is going to be: is there plans to hire a new Hispanic liaison? Are the Annapolis police, cooperating with ICE? Basically, is what you're.
I think the question is: are the Annapolis police still training that they don't cooperate with ICE? Because the city of Annapolis also passed an ordinance that they would not do that.
Okay.
So do they need, just we're checking in to make sure that they are still agreeing to that and still not doing that.
Okay. All right. And this, what was the other one also related to the issue of the
Chairman Kelly.
Of the Spanish liaison?
Hi, Lakeisha.
Hi, good evening.
Hi,
oh,
good
hi, Lakeisha. Did you have something you'd like to say, or?
I did. I have a quick question for you.
Okay.
In regards to Orlinda, in regards to the Annapolis police either cooperating or not with ICE, is there some form of like memorandum or
Mhm.
something that either say they are or they are not supposed
Yes.
to? Okay.
So there was an ordinance that was, and it, you know, don't quote me on the ordinance thing, but something was passed back in 2018, 2017. I could look through my photos and find, I took photos there at the hearing, but at the city council meeting, but that basically said the city of Annapolis will not, the police will not cooperate with ICE. We will not enforce the 287G. So
That-
there, that's
That's
actually on the
287
books.
J, right?
287G, 287G.
Okay,
G
that's
is in
287 J.
good,
Okay.
good, yeah.
Because I was definitely going to suggest that definitely make reference to that when
Yes,
in the question, just as a reminder, because people so forget.
right. Yeah, I can do that. I can look that up for you, Mike. I'll look it up because I'll be able to, I can find I can't remember what year it was off the top of my head, but I can look it up.
Well, I can call the city too about and ask about the plans to hire an Hispanic liaison. But there was a second thing that you had mentioned about that, and I just didn't get it down, Linda.
I think it was just that if they're not hiring, if they don't have plans to hire a Hispanic liaison, I think we need to push back on that because that's something that could get lost in this election year. It could get not prioritized.
Okay,
So I think it's just finding out first, are they going to still hire a Hispanic liaison? Is
okay,
that position still open? Why haven't they filled it? And if they're, and are they planning to fill it? And if not, then I think we need to push back.
okay.
So our
I can
answer
population
two questions
is
for you guys if you'd like.
20% Hispanic, right? In Annapolis. So,
Mr. Chair, I can actually answer a couple questions for you guys real quick.
oh, okay.
Sure.
So there is a new Hispanic liaison.
Oh, there is.
It's Rocio Smith. They went through a whole hiring process.
Awesome.
And then I think she might be in transition because she was already in the mayor's office and is moving into that position.
Oh, okay. I think was she his assistant or
She sort of oversaw sort of kind of
in the mayor's
that
office?
for like both the mayor's and city manager's
There
offices.
she is. Yep.
Yeah. And then also Linda, you mentioned Joe Hudson earlier. Joe Hudson still is in that position. Joe Hudson is not a sworn officer,
Okay.
so he's only ever going to be community outreach. So he'll never be
Okay.
brought back into a because he can't. But anyway, just thought I'd help you guys there for a second.
Thank you. And because I'm going
Thank
to
you,
email,
Julian.
and because I'm going to email just on a personal basis, or, you know, I'm going to email Jessa tomorrow. I'll let her know all that.
Anyway, that's all. Back to
Thank you.
you.
Okay, we're going to move on the agenda for the next item under new business. And all the items we're talking about now do not need a vote by the commission, so we can fully discuss them. It's an update on the hate crimes prevention program. You may remember when Dr. Nikki, who is the consultant to the county executive for a 1.2 federal grant to establish a Matthew Shepard, James Byrd hate crime prevention program. When she addressed the commission, she said she would be reaching out to selected bodies to form a advisory team on this. She did send a message to me saying that she would like to have one person from the Human Relations Commission. I sent a memo out on that asking if there's anyone who would be interested. I didn't get a response, so I volunteered. And so I'm actually on that body, and we've had one meeting so far. We're going to have quarterly meetings through the end of this year. That's her target in terms of completing it. I was very impressed by the first meeting. Incredibly well organized in terms of how she set it up. one of the things that we decided on was service of the various representatives of the advisory team, and they would serve on what she called would be a subcommittee, a series of subcommittees on this. And let me see, I've got the information here if I can pull it out. There were there were 6 subcommittees that will basically be putting together various portions of the report and working with her on it. The Human Relations Commission of both the county and the city will be on the Victim Support and Services Subcommittee. And basically the description of that is services and resources that are available to victims seeking support, including post-reporting support and follow-up services. Also on the subcommittee is the Anne Arundel County's Police Department Crisis Response Team. But again, both the Human Relations Commission of the city and the Human Relations Commission of the county are going to be on the same subcommittee. The individual who's serving on the advisory team from the county is the vice chair of the County Human Relations Commission. And I'm very excited about, she picked something for me that I actually can do something that I've got a background with. And that is basically telling the community ways that they can respond to hate crimes and bias incidents. So that's where we stand in terms of that. Does anyone have any questions about the? Yes, Linda.
I don't have any questions, but I did go to the Hate Bias Forum that was
Okay.
last weekend, the weekend after. It was pretty well attended. I would say it was a mix of community leaders. Maybe, I don't know if there's some government people, the school system was there. Annapolis Pride was there, NAACP was there. There was, some individuals there. And overall, it was, and honestly, I got there a little late because I knew that the beginning would just be kind of like a county exec kind of speech, that kind of thing. And I knew it wasn't getting into the nitty gritty, which is why I wanted to go. And I walked into a room that just felt filled with a bit of anger and irritation and trauma even.
Sure.
It was just very interesting because basically there was just a lot of discussion on, what happens when you report a hate crime and you need to involve the police and how many people don't trust the police. And then the police may need to make determinations on whether or not they think this is a hate crime. And many people feel like the police are biased. And then the police do what they do, and then they have to turn it over to the FBI.
Mhm.
And there's frustration there, obviously, because I don't know that the FBI is going to be doing anything on hate crimes for the next 4 years, right? So the people that were in the room are the people that I think are more on the front lines of that would be receiving word of hate crimes and then trying to, have the system do the right thing. And so it was just really interesting to me. I also felt really frustrated. And I mean, and it was clear that even some of the officials there are frustrated because one of the examples that the Maryland police gave was the texts that went around right after the election where kids were getting texts saying, well, now the election's, been determined, you'll be going, like Black kids were getting texts that said, you'll be going back to the plantation, so pack your bags by this date and meet at this location. I don't know if you all heard about that, but it was happening right here in this county that young kids were getting this. So that got reported back to the Maryland State Police, and they basically just compile it all and then they turn it over to the FBI, right? So I was asking the question, what came of that? Did anybody find anything out, right? No, it's unsolved. And so there it will sit, probably still remaining unsolved 4 years later. So it was, for me, that was my take on it. So I think overall, I appreciate that this program's going to happen. I appreciate there's money being put into it. It's those are the hurdles, the lack of trust with police and then the trust in the system to actually do something with these reports, right? I see Lakeisha has her hand up again.
Yes, Ms. Linda, because I was with you at I think it was weekend before last, like you stated.
Yes.
And
I know I saw you and I meant to say hi and then I totally forgot. I got distracted. Sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. And I had to leave right when Dr. Collins or Miss Collins was telling the story about her son
Yeah.
who was brutally killed by hate crime. And
On University of Maryland campus, yes.
Right on, yes, University of was it University of Maryland
Yeah, it
campus?
was University of Maryland, yep.
Yes, and his crime, he was stabbed in the heart and passed away. And his crime, the gentleman who did it was not recognized as conducting a hate crime. So that meant that I don't know if it was a misdemeanor, but he didn't have to serve. So he only had to serve so many years. But I was wondering the same with, like you were wondering, like what happens with the reporting of it.
Right.
There's a distinction between what is considered an incident versus what is considered a crime. One of the things I took out of that is that the school districts or the schools now are doing way better with reporting incidents and crimes to the police. But then it's just where does it go?
Right, exactly.
Where does it go? So I'm like you. I'm very excited about Dr. Nikki and this campaign of what's about to happen to help combat, because I think after a while people stop wanting to report it if they see that there's no justice. So
again, I would like to see us focus less on the reporting, because I don't think the systems are going to handle it the way they need to, and especially in the next 4 years, and more on the prevention. Like that's what I left with, was we need to do some prevention, because the systems are just, I don't know. I know I'm on a public government call, so I'm not going to say what I think, but it was very frustrating. I was really frustrated. And, one of the NAACP, well, I won't mention his name, but he walked out when he started to recognize that this system that is set up is not really going to serve people properly. And there was a lot of frustration with people. So I don't know. I definitely feel like it would be more important for us to be doing preventative stuff, whatever that could look like. Maybe it looks like citywide training, or making opportunities and maybe it means billboards all over Anne Arundel County that says hate has no space here, or something. I mean, I don't know what it looks like. Maybe it's a public campaign.
Yeah. I was also asking about, it's a little easier to go to communities where people are more accepting of it. They're willing, but what about those that are actually a little biased or maybe practicing? How do we go and change the culture, So I'm with you with the prevention has to be the key. Because reporting, as you can see, only gets us but so far. So, okay, I'm gonna lower my hand and I'll wait.
Well, this is one reason that I'm excited about the outcome of the $1.2 million grant that we have, because I think the whole focus is going to be on follow-up and that things are actually done. Some actions are taken when there's a bias incident or a hate crime reported. They're very, I guess, in a sense, coincidentally, the commission did have a report of a bias incident, which came to us, and what it involved was, and this is on the agenda. It's very next item on the agenda. It involved a resident of Ward 1 in Annapolis, and identified as a practicing dentist who received in the mail a really strange package of material. It had a drawing of him with arrows pointing to him, that this is you. And it had him holding Christmas cards, which obviously has nothing to do with someone of the Jewish faith, which he was. And then there was something written on the material saying, to the Sabbath Goya, whatever that has any meaning at all. But he was upset. He contacted the Annapolis police. They came over. They wrote up a report on it, and we ultimately received the copy of the report because we've got the liaison agreement with the Annapolis police on this. I asked Commissioner Chuck Hurley if he would, in his capacity as the chair of the outreach committee, if he would call this individual and ask, whether he was satisfied with the response which the police gave, or if the commission could be of assistance to him. Chuck reported to me that he called twice and didn't get a response, which leads me to believe that he probably just wants to let the matter go. The police followed up on it. They took a report. But I have no idea. If he didn't respond to 2 telephone calls, I told Chuck I wouldn't pursue it any further, because if he's really interested in something else, he would have responded. But that's the position that the commission is going to be taking on, at least the city commission. If we receive a bias complaint or a hate crime. Hate crimes are investigated by the police. The difference between a hate crime and a bias incident, to going back to what Lakeisha had said, is this: a hate crime's a crime. It can be prosecuted. A bias incident is can be pretty awful, but there are constitutional protections for it. There's constitutional protections for people being bigots. The courts have ruled that again and again and again. So they have to be handled differently. But we will be getting from the police anything that an officer recognizes it as something that should be written up as a bias incident or a hate crime. That report will land on our desk. The police will take the initial steps, but then they will refer it over to us. And that's one thing that we can do, is we can be proactive in responding to this. What else we can do, and I'm hoping this comes out of that $1.2 million grant, is that we hire the good services of the, it just got out of my mind right now, which one. It's the organization in Alabama that specializes in responding to hate crimes and bias incidents. And many, many years ago, both the Human Relations Commissions of the county and the city did a all weekend workshop in terms of how you can respond to hate groups. And this is something I hope we can do again. It's a poverty law center, and their program was really, really excellent. And so I think that would be another thing that we can do, and that provides, and we can open it up. We can open it up to interested parties. It doesn't have to be just the Human Relations Commissions. They can have a whole lot of other people who are interested in learning how you can respond to hate crimes, how you can respond to bias incidents. But I fully agree with Linda. This requires training. And I think it would be very valuable if this training could be broad-based throughout Anne Arundel County.
And I
So-
think the Matthew Shepard organization also does that training, because you remember you and I researched this, or I did. I think I took it as a to-do, and and that's where the grant's coming from.
Yeah.
It's the Matthew Shepard grant. So they also do that training. But just again, I'm pointing out there's a difference between prevention and response, right? So everything that you talked about was how to respond to hate crimes.
Right.
I really think that money needs, or whatever, funding and community response needs to be more about prevention.
Well, and that's what the grant is aimed at. It's basically it's designed to find ways of preventing hate crimes.
Okay.
So the direction that the Dr. Nikki will take with her advisory team is going to cover a lot of different areas. And I think they're all the ones that I just read to you this evening. But I personally am interested in finding ways that you're right, to prevent them. And there are ways to prevent those things from happening. But you don't prevent the things from happening by saying, oh, they're just a bunch of kooks, ignore them, they'll go away. That's a big mistake, a really big mistake, because that's not the conclusion the hate groups come to. They come to, we've got a lot of silent supporters. So when you do training, you can definitely focus it on prevention, as you suggested, Linda. That you can definitely do. Well, as I look on the agenda, there's a couple of other items here that I'd like to cover. One is, again, this is something that recently came up. I had gotten an email some time ago from the Maryland Department of Civil Rights, the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights, and they want to start what they were describing the creation of a civil rights coalition in the state of Maryland. That interested me, so I took part in their I guess initial meeting, and essentially what that group is all about. Again, this is something that the Maryland Commission on Civil Rights is organizing, is designed to identify specific actions that can be taken in Maryland to counter some of the things that are happening at the national level, and specifically provide programs, activities, services, and the such that will go further than some of the steps that are being taken by MAHA. That's the Maryland Association of Human Rights Agencies. Specifically, both the county and city Human Relations Commission are on those, are part of MAHA. But they suggested that it be broadened out to include a larger number of groups in this coalition. That basically was the meeting. They didn't get into more specifics about it. And they have another meeting planned that I'm going to try to sit in on, and at least for the time being, if it's something that looks like it's going to result in some concrete action, that would be one thing. But if it's just going to be a talk session, I'm going to be less interested in it. So they had a lot of people attend their initial session. So I'm hopeful that it will turn into something that's productive. Lakeisha, could you provide us with a report about the Human Relations Commission of Anne Arundel County?
Sure. The main thing that came up during our last meeting was discussion about the hate bias forum that took place on Saturday.
Mm-hmm.
I think past Saturday before last. And then just preparation as to the committees that will be forming, that Dr. Nikki is putting together to help with hate bias prevention. That was the real highlight of the discussion. So I think Linda did a great job with just kind of giving a basis of what that what was entailed with that meeting, that forum. I'm sorry.
Okay. Okay. Are there any questions that folks have either of me or Lakeisha or Linda as it relates to the various things which we've been talking about this evening?
I do have one question about the group that Dr. Nikki has put together. Is it beyond, do you know like how she decided to choose who she did? You know, I know that why she would choose Annapolis HR and Commission and the Anne Arundel HR Commission, but was she able to get organizations across the county as well as communities across the county? Like, does she have representatives, a good diverse group of people? Or
Okay.
kind of the usual suspects, I guess, is my question.
Those are good questions, Linda. And I've actually got that answer for you right now because I'm looking at how she divided up the subcommittee. She did send an email out to everyone saying that she was going to shift the committees around a little bit, and if they had thoughts about it to do it. But she was very clear that from the beginning that she wanted just one representative from each of the groups. So here they are. In terms of the public safety area, those organizations, it would be the Anne Arundel County Police Department, the Annapolis Police Department, the Anne Arundel County State's Attorney's Office, and the Anne Arundel Community College Police Department. Under advocacy, Annapolis Pride, United Black Clergy, Commission on Disability, Immigrant Affairs Commission. Under resource development, the County Public Library, the public schools, and the US DOJ Community Relations Services. Under program evaluation, it's Arundel Stats, the Commission for Women, the Office of Multicultural Affairs. Victim Support and Services, which I referenced earlier, was the Anne Arundel County Human Relations Commission, the Annapolis Human Relations Commission, and the Anne Arundel County Police Department, but specifically their crisis response team. And then finally, in community engagement, LGBTQ and their coalition partners, the Commission for Women, they've got two, Anne Arundel Community College, and one Pasadena. So those are the groups that are part of this effort.
So one thing that I noticed you did not mention, so one of the things we learned about at the Hate Bias Forum was that the two top hate incidents against groups of people, their identities were Black and
That's
Jew.
correct.
And so I didn't hear you say any Jewish representation there. And then the other piece is the Muslim representation, which I think is really underreported because, because our Muslim community in Anne Arundel does not necessarily have the status of other religions, and the acceptance of of our community. So it's interesting that she doesn't have Jewish representation or Muslim representation.
Yeah, I mean, whether there might be individuals added on later, I don't know, but I think that she probably, she did say that all of these groups were ones that she had approached and who got back to her. So I don't want to judge it. It's very possible that she did put the feelers out to
Yeah.
those, and
Absolutely.
they just didn't respond to her.
Yeah.
But there again, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Yep.
Well,
I was just
you know,
curious.
you
Because
can.
I feel like because I feel like those two religions don't
Yeah.
necessarily show up a lot in these kinds of forums. And
Yeah.
it's, I think it's concerning. It just says a lot about our world, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, what I'd like
Thanks
to
for
do.
reading that, though. That was good to hear.
Yeah.
I was
No,
curious.
I'm impressed with what I see from her so far,
She's amazing. I love her energy. She definitely, if anybody's going to do anything great on this, I think she could do it. So
yeah, well, she's been sending out homework assignments, and I've completed all of mine. She gave us a list of words that we're supposed to have beginning sentences on, and who, what, where, why, when, that type of thing. But she's been she's very upbeat and very, very excited. And one thing she did say, which she this is a $1.2 million grant from the U.S. Department of Justice. And she called him up and she said, we're working on this very, very hard, but we need to know what your plans are with this grant. Let's see if you can guess what the response was.
I'm curious because I also am funded through my job from the Department of Justice, like through lots of layers, but
Yeah.
I've been waiting for a certain agency to get into to DOJ. So I am very curious what your answer is going to be.
The answer she received, we have no idea.
Yeah.
We have
Yep.
no idea.
Yep.
So it's just chaos is what it is. Absolute chaos. But I think we can make a strong case for it. That this is something that's it may not fit right within the parameters of what the current administration wants, but it is certainly something that's important. That's you're dealing with some difficult groups. But in any case, as things stand now, we're just going to plug ahead on it, and with a shortened timetable to get this thing done. And if there's any challenge to the grant, then we'll deal with that at that time. But I will give her credit for calling them. This way, they can't say, "Oh, you're trying to sneak something through." This thing's been approved by the DOJ under Biden, and we've got the grant. So we'll see. There's one thing I would like to do before we leave the evening. I'm going to. Commissioner Williams did say that he would be be able to join the call at around 7:14. It's much later than that. I have not received any emails from him. I would have noticed that if I had seen it. What I'd like to do is make a fast telephone call to him. and see if he's able to, if he's at home. Because
Do you need me to do the staff liaison report while you're doing that?
what?
Do you want me to do the staff liaison report while
Oh,
you're
yes,
doing
yes,
that?
yes, go ahead.
Okay. All right. The staff liaison report from Human Resources largely is that our chair, Mike Keller, did request funding for the St. Mary's High School and Annapolis High School senior award. And yes, we did get approval to do that. So the plaque and or the savings bond or check will happen again this year. The other things that are happening that might be relevant to the work and activities of the Annapolis Human Relations Commission has to do with the fact that the summer internship program serves a useful purpose in the community. And it will be happening again. Applications will go live in mid-May. And last year we kind of hit a record 750 applications.
Oh, wow.
So the program is gaining popularity, and young people are asking, even as of today, what is it open? Is it time? Is it time? Is it time? So we only have so many slots.
How
But-
many do you think you're going to do this year, Claudia?
Well, we have two groups that matriculate. The first group is the college-bound students, and usually we get anywhere between 10 and 12 young people. Then, and that's by the end of June. Then the second group would be the teenagers between 12 and 16. And that's usually 10 or 12.
10 or 12. Okay, gotcha.
And they go
Are
and
you
they do
running
a lot
that?
of work in the field trips for one
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of heavy orientation on job skills and life skills.
Gotcha. Do you work on that?
Yes, I do the orientation for both groups.
Okay, gotcha. Can I ask a question about the Annapolis High School and St. Mary's High School scholarships?
Mhm.
Mike, you're on.
You're on mute, Mike. Yeah, it's not a scholarship. It's just an award. It's just a monetary award.
Oh, I thought you said something about a savings bonds.
Yeah, it's about $50 or $100.
Oh, okay. And
Mhm.
who decides on who, like, what is that process of,
Oh, that's a Mike Keller question.
yeah, who decides on these scholarships and how is it, how do people apply for it and that kind of thing?
Well, I missed Claudia's presentation because I was on the phone with Jay. What exactly was
The
The 940
presentation was that we were awarding either a savings bond and a plaque to St. Mary's High and a Annapolis High student.
Yeah, because some of the commission's done for years and years. We basically present an award to an outstanding graduating senior at both Annapolis and St. Mary's High Schools. And this comes from the Human Relations Commission, and it's just one of the ways the students are recognized.
My question was, how do we choose those scholarships? What is the process for that? Because I've never heard, how do people apply for the scholarship, or are they recommended by the schools, or how does that come about?
Well, I wouldn't even call it a scholarship. I would basically what it
Oh,
is. The student gets a nice plaque or certificate. They get a $25
Okay.
savings bond or $50 check from the city. And how are they determined?
Gotcha.
We take whatever advice. is received by the schools. The schools basically select a student. The only rule is that and this is something I say at every presentation. I say that the students' academic and school activities need to be taken into account, but the most important criteria is service to others.
Gotcha. Okay.
And there have been times over the years that I sent back a nominee saying, I need to know more about
Service.
what this student has done. And in some cases, the student was replaced. They gave it to somebody who had, had terrific grades and who was involved in all these activities, but they never did any community service work.
Gotcha.
The whole thing is aimed at community service.
Okay.
So
I
that's
just was
how
curious.
that's how we do it. Jay, thank you so much for joining us. We've got a routine matter and then a very substantive matter that we need to deal with. It was not even on the agenda because it was my intention to bring it up under the commissioner's report. But the first, the routine thing that we have is the approval of the minutes of our last meeting. We need a quorum for that. So all of you received the minutes of the December meeting, which was our last meeting. And so I would ask if there are any additions or corrections to the minutes. Hearing none, the minutes shall stand approved by common consent. Now the second, and this is the substantive item, and this, let me get my notes out here. I can get to them. Commissioner Katchmar reminded me that the commission has, for a period of years, held a candidates forum for individuals running for mayor and for members of city council. And that is correct. When I say many years, it goes back 4 election cycles that we've done that. So it's stretched out. Actually, if you add all the other years in, there's about 16 years that we've had these things. All candidates were invited and asked to respond to a question about how they would promote good human relations in the city. 4 years ago, there were last-minute questions raised by some city officials about whether the commission should go forward with the event. When I say last minute, it was definitely last minute. It was like with 45 minutes to go before the program. I just simply said, too late, we're moving ahead with this. The mayor is going to be there, and we're just not gonna hold this thing up. Period. I just said that. But we went ahead with it. It was successful, but I would not like to have a similar experience again. And so what I did was, and this is why I was going to present it as part of the commission report rather than just put it on the agenda, is because I didn't have a chance to get clearance from the commission to do what I've done in this case. And that is, I contacted Carrie Berger, who is the representative to the commission from the Office of Law. She's our lawyer. She could not be here this evening because the commission or the public service or the Public
Safety Commission.
Public Safety Commission, Public Safety Commission of the city has decided to move their meetings to Monday nights. And so she had a conflict. That conflict is going to have to be resolved in some respects. But I wrote her an email, didn't speak with her personally. I did send her an email outlining that the commission was going to be taking this up. She responded by saying that to me in writing, saying that she spoke with Ashley Leonard, who's also an assistant city attorney, and Regina Watkins Eldridge, who's a city clerk, about this issue, since, as she put it, they handle the city's elections and are more familiar with election day procedures. I think it would be fair to say that none of those parties were enthusiastic about us having a public candidates forum. But at the same time, they didn't say we couldn't do it. But what they told me, and again, this is information passed on to me from Carrie Berger after talking with her two colleagues, that they felt it would be inappropriate, their word, to use any city-owned space for a forum such as this. And also, she said that the HRC or any other body that wanted to do this would be prohibited from using city staff to support or assist in any way, underscored all those things, with conducting a political event. Lastly, if the forum were to occur, then all candidates would have to be welcome and it would have to be nonpartisan, and that commission members would not be allowed to espouse any specific views about candidates, and they would have to stay neutral. Most of those things are going to be fine with us in terms of the process. This is going to be a forum that will include the mayor and all members of the council. We've done both of those. With some years we just do the mayor. Sometimes we include everybody in it. And the thing that we would have to do in this case is to follow what we've done the last two cycles, and that is to find a place other than a city government office to hold this thing in. But the question, I think the first question of it is, does the commission want to do this again? And that's what I need for people to consider. And if this is something that you want to think about, because it's late, and you can is if you wanted me to put this in writing to the commissioners. We do have two commissioners that are not present this evening because they had either a work commitment or some other event, and that was Commissioner Hurley and Commissioner Hatch could not be here. And I'm not even going to ask Claudia to speak on this because I got clear direction that they did not want. It was very clear that we are not to ask Claudia or not asked to ask Tricia. If we want to do this, it's a separate project, and we're not going to do it on city grounds. So we can do this, but I think I need to get a sense of whether the commission really wants to do that or not. And I appreciate, Rosemary, you're reminding me of this. It had skipped my mind that we had done this before. I would just offer this thing in terms of looking at the current cast of candidates. I think it is likely that we probably this year might focus just on the two mayoral candidates. You've got two candidates running for mayor. Both are Democrats. That's significant because you would have to time the thing and take into account the results of the primary. Of the other aldermanic candidates, the other 8 candidates, there's only 2 contested elections as of now. One is in Ward 1, where you've got one incumbent who was appointed by a central committee to fill a vacancy, and two others who are in that or who are seeking the position in Ward 1. And in Ward 8, it's an open seat. The incumbent's not seeking re-election. One candidate is a Democrat. There's another candidate who's an independent. So all of the others, you said 3?
Kiana,
Who am I
Kiana
missing?
Smith-Brown is running in Ward 3 for Rhonda's seat, for Rhonda Pendel's seat. And
Oh, yes.
Odom just announced that she is running as well.
Yes, no, there's actually people, I think, in the only race in which there's only ward in which there's nobody filed so far is Ward 6.
Right.
Dewan Gay representing that ward, he is not though formally filed. But you are right, Linda, that there are candidates who have filed for all of the other wards. But
Yeah. But
yeah.
Ward 3 has a contested race, is my point. That's all.
So you know
Yeah.
of 2 people. Okay, well, that's not yet. That's
people
not
in Ward
currently
3.
on. Yeah,
Yes,
it's not
2
on the
people.
website. It's not on the website yet.
It's yeah. I've been keeping track of it as well. So
Okay, yeah. Well, that's so right now what you have then is three of the 8 aldermanic candidates. So you don't even have half of them. But the closing deadline to apply is July 28th. So it's possible that you might have more contested races by that time. The primary is September the 16th. Is the primary. So my thought is if we do this, that we would set the date for our forum sometime between the end of or the beginning of August to maybe at the latest the second week in September. That we would do this. And once again, I can put a lot of this in writing for the commission's feelings. The way it would be run is the way we've always run it. The candidates would be asked to make a statement about, how they think that human relations can be promoted within the city. We deliberately pick something that's pretty open that they can address. What do folks think? Is there something that you'd like to do?
I'd like to ask a question. And if my memory serves me correctly, from the standpoint of what we've done in the past, we haven't held any of these at state or city-owned locations. I think my memories that we had one time at a church, or maybe at several churches over the years. I think we've had great, I would say pretty strong attendance at each of the ones that I've also been to or been a part of, and I think that it provides some element of a public service that allows for members of the community to come out and see and hear and listen to people who are running for these different places. I would support doing it again. I'm not quite certain as to what the reluctance of the city is, except for just doing, since it's a political action, I guess. I see it somewhat as a benefit, not as or a negative standpoint.
Actually, to that point, Jay, there was a time where we could meet in a city building. We had it in city council chambers in 2009. We had it at the rec center another time. And the last 2 were the Eastport Methodist, and the time before that, St. Luke's.
Well, you've got that history down solid, Rosemary. It's exactly what happened. Yeah, what happened is we held the event at the 2 places that Rosemary mentioned, all 4 of them. We when we met at the rec center, it was the second time we had done it, very well attended. And then, so when the third year came around, the third time to do it, I went back to the rec center and asked if we could meet with them again or use it for, and it was at that time the door slammed shut. The answer was no, you can't do it. It's too political. We won't approve it. And so we just went out, and St. Luke's did it for us that year. And then the following year was at Eastport United Methodist Church. We held it. So yeah, that's the history. Linda, I see your hand is raised.
So I had two questions. One is, I forgot the question. The first one was, I know that there's two other potential candidate forums, and I actually am involved in a third one that I can't announce right now, but it's going to be very specific on a subject that I have brought to the commission before. But there's going to be two other ones, potentially the Caucus of African American Leaders, and then the Action Annapolis, I think, is reforming. That's somebody who works on that, told me that they're meeting again and they're talking about doing another candidate forum. So another option could be to work with the groups that are already doing them and to get that question asked of the candidates too, right? And I guess I just wanted, that was my other question was, you've named one question that you asked the candidates. So are there others, or I guess kind of how did you said one question that you asked them and then is that it? Or were there a series of questions all relating to human relations and the work that we do? Was it kind of all about how it relates to human relations?
No, basically it was a single question about how they would promote good human relations in the city.
Okay.
And
Okay.
then we opened it to Q&A, and that was
Gotcha.
the
To everybody that attended.
everyone who attended.
Okay, gotcha. I was wondering how long it lasted, but sometimes candidates can talk for a long time. So
well, if my memory is correct, the mayor talked a long time. He went went over his time, and he said some things that would make it tricky for us to get back to Eastport United Methodist Church, because he said some things in his statements that roiled some people. But you know, as a candidate forum, he could say what he wanted to. We never said that we were going to review what he put down. But no, the whole intent of ours is to give people a chance for Q&A. But in response, Linda, to your point, if it would be possible if we could collaborate with another organization, that's a possible way of going. I think any location that they selected would almost certainly have to follow the same rules that we have. It'd have to be something that would be off of the city's premises.
Let me ask you, if we were to partner with someone, for example, and then they asked questions that we didn't, that don't really touch on our issues, or we crossing any lines, maybe that's a question for our attorney. If we are, I guess, intertwined in some with another organization, and that other organization touches on, I guess, political speech, I guess, or things that we don't. And this is just off the cuff kind of thought here. If we kind of bear any responsibility, or similar to what you said, Mike, that the mayor ruffled some feathers, I guess, on whatever statements he made at the church. Is it possible that any, I guess, question or answer that might be asked by another organization has any impact on, us if we've partnered with them? Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. Well, I think it just goes to the question of how do commissioners feel we could best communicate our points? Would it be to do it in conjunction with another group? that other group may end up being able to bring a lot of people out, more so than we could by just our single efforts. On the other hand, the question is definitely can be raised is, will we be well served? One of the main reasons that we do this, it is because it gives us publicity. That's it. Otherwise, people never even heard of the Human Relations Commission. Large numbers of people don't know about us. So this gives us a certain degree of attention. And that's one reason that I think that we've done it over the years. It's been something that is designed to increase our visibility.
And I know before it's been part of the outreach, or at least it was part of the outreach committee that was that I guess coordinated it somewhat in the past. If my memory serves me correctly, I believe that we stopped it probably around the pandemic times because of all of the meetings in these Zoom spaces and things. But maybe Rosemary can correct me if she remembers the history better than me.
Well, when we had our last candidate forum, I think we were coming out of COVID. So it was live and we did get a turnout. And as Mike said, there were things going on behind the scenes that made it almost as if it wasn't going to happen. But I think that we are an astute, stubborn group, and it happened.
Okay.
And in my opinion, you bring an interesting point, Jay, in partnering with another group, let's say the African American Caucus. We do have things in common, that it would be a good partnership. But yet Mike also makes a good point about could it be just us too? Because we want to make sure we don't get overlooked. That's the right word I want to say, that we get what our agenda is from that forum as well, such as the publicity or what we do and the questions that we ask. So it's kind of like I'm intrigued, and whether we partner or whether we go it alone. And I think that's something that we talk about more. But I will always vote for a forum. However we choose to do it, we make the best decision, and I will always vote for the forum.
Well, what I would like to do tonight is to take a vote on the simple question of, shall the Human Relations Commission conduct a candidates forum or participate in a candidates forum as part of a partnership, one or the other, but that we will definitely do a candidates forum again, but leave open as things are right now, whether it will be done in conjunction with other groups or whether we'll do it alone. And then ask Linda if she could touch base with those groups that she's working with to get their thoughts and their opinions. If they say, yeah, then we can consider. If they say, no, we want to do our own thing, then we can proceed accordingly. But what I really want tonight is, if there's anybody here who on our call tonight, we do have a quorum, who just simply says we shouldn't do this at all. We should just simply stay out of it. So that's what I'd like to do tonight. And then if the answer is yes, we should do a forum, then we can deal with the question of the partner thing. That would be the next thing. And we should have an answer on that, certainly by our May meeting. And then if there's a need to, if we're going to go it alone, we will have to find a location. And that I'm going to ask the commissioner. I would ask the commissioners to look broadly into that, in terms of what might be an ideal ideal location for us. So I get a question, is there anyone who feels that we should not do this? Can I put in the minutes that the commission decided to do a candidates forum, details to be provided later by common consent?
Yeah.
Yes.
I think we can definitely explore it. I'm not
Okay.
opposed to it. I definitely think we need to explore it. There's the advertising part of it, right? That we would have to consider. Just there's lots of layers here. So
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, for the candidates, it's real easy for the candidates. You simply send them
Well, I
a,
understand that, but we also want people to show up, right? And we're not
and
gonna be able to
what
use
you have to
city
do there,
platforms to do
yeah.
that.
yeah,
And-
for that latter, you've got to sort of leaning on your organization that's doing the hosting. You ask them if they could publicize it, and they're starting, and then you
Right,
make
if we
flyers and you
partner, I
put
understand.
flyers everywhere. You just to put flyers up all over the place.
But
That's
also, yeah, I understand how to do a forum. I'm just saying there are lots of layers there that we
Yeah.
would not be able to rely on the city for, that we would have to own and show up for and volunteer for ourselves. So
you're absolutely right. I mean that, and
that's
we've done that, in the past. We've been pretty successful at doing that.
So
But
yeah, I'm good with it. And Mike, before we get off, I need to make a correction to my whole thing about the vote on that the city council did on the immigrant policy.
Oh, okay.
So I was researching it, and as usual, my dates were completely off. So it happened. Well, actually, I don't know when it happened because this is an updated article, but it actually it had nothing to do with the 287G policies, which were, which is about ICE. I think I got confused because at the same time, a group I was working with was trying to get Anne Arundel to agree to stop working with ICE.
Mhm.
Basically, what the city council passed was what they called non-discrimination legislation, and it protected undocumented immigrants from discrimination based on their immigration status, which meant that they could not be asked by city employees, including the police, what their immigrant status was or is.
Mhm.
So that was something that was passed by the city and is still, I believe, something that they go with. So I do think it might be good, to reach out to the city still to make sure that the police are still being trained on this, that the city employees are still being trained on this, because it is legislation that our city council actually did pass. So, yeah, so I just wanted to correct that publicly because I got completely confused with all of the too many things that I get involved in.
Well, I'll make sure that it's correctly mentioned in the minutes, but I will follow up to find out the
27.
status of that legislation.
I'm sending it to the article link.
Okay, all right, thank you. Yeah, I can follow up and find out. I don't think there's been any action on city council to make a change in the policy.
No, it's just, it was done in 2017.
Yeah.
So it was done, at another time in our country when there were lots of tensions around immigration. And so I think it's just good to check in on making sure that it still is part of people's training that works for the city, right?
Yeah. Well, immigrant status is a protected class in the city of Annapolis.
Yes, this is the bill.
That was included in it, and I remembered very well because the person who was mayor at the time, Mike Panelides, did not support it,
right,
and was not happy.
Yeah,
was not happy at the Human Relations Commission for backing it. I mean, there was never a question the commission was going to support that, but he was annoyed. Let me put it that way. But I remember our voting in favor of that, and I don't think there's been any. I know there's been no change in terms of its status and being protected class. But I'll double check on the issue of the cooperation between you know, if there's been any collaborative situations with the Annapolis Police Department on that. I doubt seriously whether there has been. It should be very easy to find it out. Okay, I'd like to thank everyone for their support this evening, and it's a very special thank you for Jay for coming on. I know he had some additional work and stuff like that, and I really appreciate your coming on and enabling us to go forward on this. I see Lakeisha is still here. That's a question. Lakeisha, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Good. Does the county commission plan to do anything that would, I think, impact what's happening with the grant? I know you've got a representative, the person who's vice chair of the commission of your commission is participating, but are you doing anything specifically to engage with Dr. Nikki?
So outside of the committee setup, not tracking anything that's on the agenda at the very moment, but I the question back and response to you for you next one.
No, that's what I thought, but I was just curious to know that, because he person who is a representative, he left about halfway through the program, and I just wanted to know whether there was any concerns he had. He said he had some other obligations that day, and so I'm sure that's what it was. Thank you also for joining us. I'd like to thank all members of the commission. I'd like to thank Claudia Barber for holding it in with us, and I think we can adjourn at 8:30. It's a little later than we usually do, but we got things done. Okay.
All right. Thanks, Mike. Thanks,
all right.
everybody.